And joining me are Gretchen Logue and Ann Gassel from Missouri Education Watchdog, and also I think it's Missouri, no Common Core, NOMO Common Core at gmail.com if you want to reach them. But tonight they're having a Twitter rally tonight on HR5. So do the hashtag HR, the number 5, and the hashtag Student Success Act, and the hashtag NCLB, No Child Left Behind. All right, ladies, and Gretchen, I don't know who wants to talk about this, but just take us through. You've got till the end of the hour. Just take us through what you want us to know on either of these bills. Or are they the same bill? Is SETRA 227 the same as HR5?
No, they are separate. So I will just briefly go into HR5, and then I'll turn SETRA over to Ann. Okay. It is a Twitter fest. It is primarily sponsored by about 4 moms who got together. It will be from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and the main hashtag to use would be Stop HR5. You can find information about the Twitter Fest itself at MissouriEducationWatchdog.com. That will give you the link and that sort of thing. The elevator speech on HR5 is also called the Student Success Act. There were no public hearings in 2015 on this act. It was barely passed in 2013, but went nowhere because we had a divided House and Senate. It's very egregious in our eyes. It does not give states authority over education. In fact, if you look through the 600 pages, you will see that most of what it does is requires federal approval for states in all matters of education. There are amendments that you need to look at. There are 127 amendments, and one of them is, I think it's Amendment 43. It will establish an ombudsman, a neutral ombudsman for the Department of Education to ensure that the curriculum used is appropriate. So if anyone tells you that a school district can choose their own curriculum, that technically is true. However, if such an amendment would go through in this act, then it would have to be approved by the Department of Education. This is the type of control that is present in H.R. 5, and that we are asking people to call, email, tweet their representatives and say, do not vote for this bill. It's a reauthorization of No Child Left Behind, and frankly, it's worse.
Okay, it's worse. All right, let's go to the SETRA, and then we can come back to both of them. And if folks want to call in, they may, 515-244-0077, 515-244. Is that the right answer? Yeah. Every so often I get the wrong number. 515-244-0077. Thank you, Ryan Northfield, for keeping me on track. All right. So, SETRA.
Okay, so SETRA is Strengthening Education Through Research Act. And much like No Child Left Behind and Student Success Act are a rehash of the original Elementary and Secondary Education Act, SETRA is a rehash of the Education Science Reform Act, the ESRA. That's been around since, sections of that have been around since 1994, but really that act was, the Education Science Reform Act was first passed in 2002. And its intent was to look at and evaluate the effectiveness of federal education programs. So right from the outset, they just slammed themselves in the foot because there should be no federal education programs. It's not their job. But they set that up, and now they're reorganizing things. And to me, the thing that stands out that's disconcerting about this, there are these centers, the comprehensive centers, and there's 17 of them around the country. And the purpose of these centers has been redefined in SETRA now to provide state educational agencies and local educational agencies, so that's your state and local districts, technical assistance, analysis, and training to build their capacity in implementing the requirements of ESEA and other federal education laws. So now we have these centers whose sole purpose is to make sure that you have federal compliance in your state. The thing that has a lot of people very concerned about this particular bill is the amount of data that is collected. And they continue to rely on the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, in order to protect the data that is collected on the individual students. If you're going to evaluate programs, they're going to look at individual student outcomes from the different programs. And on page 28, it even says that they're going to look at research, including research on social and emotional learning.
So that's frightening.
So it's not just looking at can they do math and can they write a decent sentence, but, where are their values and how is their social development coming along?
That's really, really concerning for every parent out there, especially when I just said at the beginning of this program, we're dealing with a bully bill, an anti-bully, B-U-L-L-Y bill here in Iowa. It sounds good. It's, what people don't realize in lawsuits, it's been outlined, and it was the intent of our founding fathers. The Constitution is to stop us from our own best intentions. When Sheriff Mack sued over the Brady Bill because he refused as a sheriff to implement the Brady Bill because it took away the rights, the Second Amendment rights of his citizens. Took it to the Supreme Court, and he won. You never hear about it, but he won. We've interviewed him on the show a couple of different times. And in that decision, they said the Constitution is there to stop us from our own best intentions. You and I know when we've gotten emotionally involved or thought something was the right thing to do and realized later that was not helpful. It was not good. This bully bill states in Iowa that they will go around to parents, that they will not tell the parents if the school official feels that they might be angry or might object to the lifestyle of the child or sexual expression. I don't think there's anything in there for religious, there's no protection for any, it's very limited in its scope. Mm-hmm. But whenever you start leaving parents out, to me, that is a huge red flag.
Absolutely, and there's stuff in HR5 that with the Student Success Act that's the same way. It still requires 95% of the students to be tested, which means that you as a parent don't have, your desire not to have your child tested is completely overridden by the federal regulation.
And did you hear our first guest on this show? I don't know Eric Bulawala. I don't know, this person. I hear what he said on the show. He didn't seem like he was out of hand. But he's now not allowed on school premises. He cannot have contact with school officials because he did the opt-out with his third grade daughter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always say they want your money and they want your kid, and then they just want you to go away.
Yes.
And they're going to handle everything else. And I think that's where we are today. And if you are compelled and obligated to pay for a system, then you should have the right and the voice to participate in that system. And something has happened when parents are locked away from a public school for decisions that they have made for their child. They're the legal guardian, not the school and not the system.
Yeah, I would say whether you pay or not, you are the parent. You are the authority. Unless you've proven yourself that you cannot handle, you're not in the best interest of the child. But again, that gets into the subjective of emotional learning, emotional, social well-being. So it just opens up a whole nasty can of worms and puts the school in authority over the parent. That's the other thing that really concerns me. So you're telling parents to do what?
Well, as long as you're going to be talking to your congressman about HR5, you should also talk to your senator about Senate Bill 227, because that's this SETRA bill. And say that, look, we don't need any more federal intrusion. Or sorry, SETRA.
I know. It's just, sort of the mattress, SETRA's the bill. Yeah. I know, I did the same thing earlier.
It's all these acronyms.
All these acronyms. It's SETRA, S-E-T-R-A. For those of you listening, SETRA for the Senate, HR5 for Congress. Do either of you have the congressional switchboard phone number right now?
Oh.
I'm looking it up. If my computer will play along quickly, it keeps giving me that death disc because I have so many things open. But if it will give me my address book, I've got it in there, and then folks can call. I think it's this 202 224-3121. Ryan, if you can do a search over there, why don't you do that for me too? I think it's 202-224-3121. In the meantime, any other thing you want? I think I was right. I was right. It always, when the memory kicks in, it's always a good thing, that you see those T-shirts, I'm going to have more memory installed. It's not the memory. I need a faster search modem.
Well, I would urge parents tonight to do that Twitter Fest. If you go to the Missouri Education Watchdog blog, I have also embedded in there was a very interesting article from the Washington Post with a study showing that tweeting has changed the Common Core debate.
Oh.
And it is really important because tweets are really the best way to get your message out to a wide audience and to get those representatives that ordinarily would not take your emails or your calls if you're not a constituent. So please access that article, access the Tweet Fest tonight, and understand that it really can make a difference. This is the vehicle to get your message across, and your dissatisfaction with representatives not reading the bill and understanding the implications of what they may sign.
Thank you. And so everybody, you can go on Twitter tonight. If you don't have a Twitter account, you can set it up fairly easily. I did. And if I can figure it out, you can figure it out.
Absolutely.
It's tweaking it down to 140 characters that just throws us all for a loop. But the hashtag that they should use tonight is Stop HR5.
Correct. That would be the main hashtag that we're asking people to use.
And if you want more information on this, you can go to MissouriEducationWatchdog.com.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
MissouriEducationWatchdog.com. And of course, Sandra Stotsky, Stotsky, has been one of the leaders dealing with Common Core and warning us. And I think Crystal Lane Swazi emailed me and said she's got a great blog on this as well to check out Stotsky's information on it. And then anything on Crystal Lane Swazel's, I think I'm saying that correctly, on her blog as well would be a great help to you. So Ann Gassel, Gretchen Logue, thank you both. One, for your courage, for the lawsuit, for your leadership and Common Core from the get-go, and for keeping us up to date on these so we can learn more tonight. Everybody, you can learn while you're watching TV on Twitter tonight.
Thanks, Tamara.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, ladies, stay on after we hang up because I have a question for you on Facebook. I'm socially challenged. So this is the end of the show. We won't be right back after this message, but we've given you some pretty good information today. Do what you can with it. It's your responsibility. Do what you can to help others know of it. You're not responsible for their inaction or reaction. When you call your senator, he may or may not be happy with you. I don't think you'll get any flack. They usually just want your name and what you say. You don't have to know the bill. You don't have to go through the bill. They've given you some reasons to run down why you have concerns about it. It will take less than a minute and 30 seconds, I guarantee you. Be clear, be bright, be brief, be gone. They don't want to talk long. You don't want to get into an argument. That doesn't help any of us. Just very nicely discuss it. Thank them for their service. And Gretchen, thank you for your service. We'll be back in a week. I'm traveling next week. We may have to do a best of encore, but we'll be back after that. I'm in D.C. At the APAC conference. I get to hear Netanyahu. I'm looking forward to that. And so as you go about this week, remember, you are the one who can make a difference. You are the advocate for your child. Be encouraged and never be complacent.